Hi everybody. On 8th of February 2024, the Congress party released something called the Black Paper on the Modi government.
आज देश पिछले 10 साल में समृद्धि के नए नए शिखर सर कर रहा है, उसको नजर न लग जाए, इसलिए काला टीका करने का एक प्रयास हुआ है.
India's main opposition party, Congress, has brought out what it termed as a black paper on the 10 years of the ruling party's governance.
Congress chief Mallikarjun Kharge released the black paper this morning and targeted the centre.
वो हमेशा अपनी बात को पार्लियामेंट में जब रखते हैं तो बार बार अपनी कामयाबियों को सुनाते हैं और उनके फेल्यूर्स को छुपाते हैं.
Yes, you heard it right. They released a 54-page document to educate the people of India about what all did the Modi government do wrong and what atrocities did they commit while governing the country in the past 10 years. And the best part is that they've made these arguments with a lot of data. So now we have two schools of thoughts. On one side, while the white paper talked about how India is developing and progressing very fast under the Modi government, the black paper shockingly presents a totally opposite viewpoint, and they put out a direct attack on the Modi government. While Modi ji calls the current period as the Amrit Kal of India, the Congress has called it the Anyay Kal, as in the time of injustice.
भाइयों बहनों, हम लोग आजादी के अमृत काल में.
Black paper claims the 10 years of Modi rule were a period of injustice.
Kharge tried to corner the centre over rising inflation and unemployment in the country.
And while most people will ignore it as just dirty political fights, as citizens of the country, you should be very happy about these arguments because these are data-based arguments. And this will help you understand the difference between the BJP's perspective and the Congress perspective. Eventually, it will make the debate of BJP versus Congress even more interesting. Eventually, as voters of the country, it will help you understand the governance of your country better. But while most media houses have only covered the white paper and praised the Modi government for its work, we at Think School wanted to show you the other side of the picture as well. So in this case study, let me take you deep into the black paper to help you understand on what grounds does the black paper blame the current government for bad governance, what does the black paper have to say about the current state of the Indian economy, and most importantly, which document presents the ultimate truth, the white paper by the Modi government or the black paper by the Congress. Before we move on, let me tell you about an interesting survey by HP which talks about AI being a solution to workplace burnout. This survey says that 75% of the leaders predict jobs will become easier with AI and 55% people think AI opens up more opportunities. So if you're someone who wants to learn AI for free, check out Growth School's 3-hour workshop on AI and ChatGPT. It's being held this week and is hosted by my dear friend Vaibhav Sisanthi. Usually it's a paid workshop, but especially for Think School viewers, it is absolutely free. The best part is, the first 1,000 people who register for it will get a bonus worth 5,000 rupees, which includes a list of 50 plus epic AI tools of 2024 and the prompt Bible with 200 plus prompts. These prompts will change the way you work in your profession, and more than 1 million people across the globe, along with me and my team, have taken this workshop and they have derived an insane amount of value from it. In fact, they have created their own personal AI assistant that can do almost all tasks 10x faster and with 10x precision. So whether you are a tech or non-tech professional in sales, marketing, HR, operations, or even a founder or freelancer, this will be extremely useful for you. I've left the link in the description, so go and check it out. Chalo, let's start from the basics. Out of this 54-page document, just like last time, we have picked some of the most important points that Congress has used to expose the BJP government. And you can read the entire document from our study material section in the description. Now, if you've seen the white paper episode, the white paper basically picked the most important indicators and declared that the Indian economy is doing insanely well as compared to the Congress era. And it was pretty convincing as well. But you know what, guys? The black paper points out a very important indicator that the white paper completely missed on, and that is the unemployment rate in India. So this begs the question, have we really done so badly in our unemployment markers? Well, unfortunately, the data says that we have done a terrible job here. And this is especially because the Prime Minister promised to create 2 crore jobs every single year.
क्या मेरिट के आधार पर नौकरी मिलनी चाहिए कि नहीं मिलनी चाहिए? आपकी ताकत के हिसाब से आपको काम मिलना चाहिए कि नहीं मिलना चाहिए? Our aim is to create jobs for more than 1 billion young hands.
According to the black paper, let alone creating 2 crore jobs, unemployment is at the highest in the past 45 years. And shockingly, the black paper says that the situation is so bad that 2 unemployed people die by suicide every single hour.
मुंबई के पवई इलाके में 24 साल के एक MBA के छात्र ने बेरोजगारी के चलते आत्महत्या कर ली।
2 sisters who committed suicide and they used their father's licensed revolver. That's because it's believed that they were extremely upset as they did not, receive any job.
According to the black paper, the total unemployment for all ages in 2012 was 1 crore people, which has now increased to 4 crores in 2022. And furthermore, they also point out that the youth unemployment has doubled from 6% in 2011-12 to 15% in 2019-20. Now, some people might say, bro, all of this is because of COVID, and this is a 4-year-old data. So you know what? We cross-checked all of our sources, and our data says that in 2013, the unemployment rate was 5.42%. In 2019, it was 5.27%, and in 2023, it stood at 8.03%. So regardless of how you measure it and when you measure it, we have to admit that things are bad with our employment status. And you know what? The black paper doesn't stop here. The black paper also points out that 10.34 crore people under the age of 30 were in the workforce in 2016-17. But by the end of 2022-23, the number had fallen to just 7 crore people under the age of 30 in the workforce. And to make it worse, about 1/3 of all our graduates and postgraduates are unemployed. So long story short, the black paper points out that there is rampant unemployment in the country. This is the state of employment in the country. And you know what, guys? The Congress further goes on to say that the government has not only failed in creating jobs, but it has also caused problems to the existing jobs as well. Now, why does Congress say this? Between 2014 and 15 and 2022 and 23, real wages rose by just 0.8% in the agricultural sector, 0.2% in the non-agricultural sector, and it was negative for the construction sector. So over the period of 8 years, while the rich have gotten richer in India, the poor in India seem to be struggling. So here's the message that I want to put out humbly to all the BJP leaders. Guys, you have hands down done a great job in controlling the economy, bringing down the fiscal deficit, increasing the FDI and increasing the forex reserves. But what are we doing about jobs today? We need to bring in more manufacturing units. We need to bring in more FDI into manufacturing, and only then we can create these jobs. So my question is, what are we doing to create more jobs in the economy and protect the bottom of the pyramid? If this is clear to you, let's come to the second point in the black paper. Guys, if you remember, the white paper spoke about how the fiscal deficit has decreased with the increasing revenue from sources like taxes and responsible expenditure done by the government. But here's where the black paper accuses the government of something called tax terrorism. In simple words, this means that small and middle class are being taxed heavily by the government to increase their revenue. Now, the point to be noted over here is that terrorism is an exaggerated word for this, but then there is actually a story that is worth addressing. In 2021-22, out of the 14.83 lakh crores in GST collected, the Congress says that 64% of this revenue was obtained from the bottom 50% of the population, 33% of this revenue was obtained from the middle 40%, and just 3% of this number was obtained from the top 10% of the population. Now, there are two things to note over here, guys, and if the Congress leaders are watching this, please listen to this very carefully. By the look of these stats, it almost looks like the BJP is doing a great job because the tax is coming from all segments of the society. And you're clearly saying that the rich in the country only pay 3% of the GST. And this to most people will look like India's consumption class is 50% of the population. And to the viewers, I got to tell you that the big problem over here is the income divide in India. So here's another chart to actually state the depth of this problem. If you look at this chart, only 5% of the population in India files for taxes. Only 1.5% of them pay taxes. And this is absolutely terrible because these markers are at 10% for China and 43% for the United States. And what's even worse is that just 0.3% of Indians contribute 80% of the tax collected in India. So this says that there is a huge income gap between the rich and the poor. And technically, if you see, the poor in India does not pay income tax at all, which means they don't even have an income worth 7 lakh rupees, and this number is as big as 1.2 billion people. This is the actual problem. So if taxes are coming from all classes of people, it's actually great because it says that the bottom of the pyramid is consuming more than the rich. But if you look at the income tax data, it actually points out how much income do the poor people in India actually have. If this is very, very clear to you, let's come to the second point that the Congress points out, which is the implementation of GST. You see, while the aim of GST was to simplify taxes in India, Congress says that it actually made matters worse for the businesses in India. GST rules have been amended more than 900 times in the last 6 years, and between 2017 to 2022, the Black Paper accuses the Modi government of changing rules every other day with 907 notifications, 195 circulars, 23 instructions and 19 orders. All of this supposedly makes small businesses suffer a lot. Guys, a quick note on this, we actually couldn't find a relevant source to cross-check this information. So what I did is, I conducted a small survey with the MSME community of Quantum Leap, which is Rajiv Talreja's company, where he has trained thousands of MSME owners and he has helped them out with their business. Now in this community, 90% of the business owners said that GST actually made their life better, whereas 10% of them said that GST made their life worse. So now I want to leave it up to you guys. If you are a business owner, if you belong to the MSME community, drop a comment below and let me know whether GST made your life better or worse. And one point to note over here is that we want to segregate your comment from all the bots that are very active right now because of the election season. So tell me if GST made your life better or not, along with the reason. So if it made your life better, say yes and drop a reason so that we can understand that it's a genuine comment and it is not coming from a bot. If this is clear, let's move on with the episode. So yes, it is true that GST did hurt people in the short run, and I believe that is what happens when every major economic policy is executed. But most people that I spoke to told me that GST did not make their life difficult, except for the fact that they had to spend some extra money on a CA. Thirdly, the Black Paper points out something very critical about the manufacturing and exports of India. You see, the BJP had promised that India will compete with China, who was and still is the godfather in manufacturing.
In the year 2023, India would grow faster than China.
When I first visited the US as a Prime Minister, India was the 10th largest economy in the world. Today, India is the 5th largest economy.
But with current levels at about 7%, growing just a bit faster is all it needs to surpass China.
But the question over here is, did it really turn India into a revolutionary manufacturing hub of the world? Well, not really, because if you look at the Modi government's target, they said that manufacturing must be 25% of our GDP. But you know what? The share of manufacturing in India's GDP has actually fallen from 16% in 2015 to 13% in 2022. So let alone 25%, we have a dangerous backlog that we now have to recover from. And this is something that we pointed out even in the BJP report card episode. So these numbers raise some serious questions about the Make in India initiative in India. Now the question over here is, why are we falling short in this initiative? Because this was supposed to be a revolutionary initiative, right? Well, two reasons. Number one, ease of doing business in India isn't easy enough. And number two, land acquisition is a big problem. And unless we fix it, we cannot grow as fast as China. If this is clear to you, let's move to the fourth point that the Black Paper points out, which are social indicators. Now, if you remember from our white paper episode, it spoke about how the government has increased capex spending and how it is not wasting money on welfare schemes. So while it is good that the capex has increased, it is important to note that in certain places, money needs to be spent on welfare schemes. And from the look of these stats, it looks like the BJP government is not spending enough on welfare schemes. They might be doing a lot, but that may be not enough. And you know what we found out, guys? For some schemes, the benefits did not reach the right people. And for some schemes, even when the money was allocated, it was not spent fully. For example, for the schemes that were introduced for the farmers, like the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, the insurance scheme has not even reached 50% of its targeted farmers. Similarly, if you look at women-centric social schemes like Nirbhaya, 12,000 crores worth of projects were approved. But till 2023, just 2,521 crores were utilized. So the Black Paper says that it is great to spend on capex, but when you have money allocated for welfare, when you have people who need welfare, why don't we spend this money and help the poor? This is the fourth argument that the Black Paper made. And this brings us to the fifth point, which is something very, very scary. The black paper argues that democracy in India is weakening. Now, how do they say that? The black paper implies that the government is misusing investigative agencies like ED and CBI to raid the opposition leaders. While the Congress says that only 54% of the investigations were carried out against their opposition when they were in power, during the time of the BJP, 95% of these investigations were carried out on the opposition only.
The BJP government wants to destroy the democracy in this country.
अगर CBI अपना काम करती, ED अपना काम करती, तो ये नहीं होता. तो उनको ये भी सोचना चाहिए कि किसी ना किसी दिन बीजेपी की सरकार बदलेगी.
अमित शाह जी सेकंड.
क्योंकि उसके पास ED है. ED is his weapon. CBI उनके पास ही है. Income tax उनके पास.
Pretty much anybody who goes to the BJP goes there because of a particular type of pressure. Pressure from the CBI, pressure from the ED, pressure from cases.
Now some people might say, bro, that is because only the opposition leaders are corrupt. BJP leaders are not corrupt. Well, although I want to believe it, the patterns kind of make it hard to believe. Now I'm not saying this because I've got something very concrete, just look at the patterns. And even Indian Express has recently published a chart of about 25 opposition leaders who had cases against them. But after that, they joined the BJP and 23 of them saw their cases drop. Now, I don't have anything concrete to actually point out. Like I said in the electoral bonds episode, these could be isolated events also, these could be correlated events also. But somehow they seem to be extremely worrisome, and it would be great if a government leader can actually point out or explain to the people of India what exactly is happening. In fact, if you want to know more about this argument, my friend Mohak Mangal has covered this extensively in his channel. I'll attach the link to his video in the description. Now, the point to be noted over here is that I have certain disagreements with Mohak. Mohak has certain disagreements with me. But this video of Mohak actually points out something that is very factual and is very evidently problematic. So do have a look at it and let me know what you think. If this is clear to you, let's move on to the last point that the white paper points out, which is the defense and security problem in India. If you don't know what happened in Manipur, 35,000 people have been displaced in Manipur, 1,700 houses have been burned, 60 people have lost their lives, and 200 more have been injured since the violence broke out in May 2023 in Manipur.
And in the night, Manipur is burning for months now.
My question pertains to the ongoing situation in Manipur.
The fight goes on in broad daylight.
Many want to end the fighting. These Meitei are marching for peace.
So while the BJP has done a great job in Kashmir, the question is why couldn't we act quickly on Manipur even though it had the BJP government both at the state and the center? Now, while most people might say, bro, that happened in Manipur, but my state is doing just fine, I gotta tell you that this is a system issue, guys, because if one state is burning and the center did not do anything, tomorrow, what makes you believe that something might happen to your state and the center will actually take some strict action? Because it was an entire state burning and it was the life of 35,000 people, which is even today at stake. This is the reason why we as citizens of the country, we need to point out and voice our opinions so that the government understands that the people of India are watching. These are the most compelling arguments that have been made in the black paper. And apart from these arguments, there are several other arguments like demonetization, farmer income, and the Chinese border problem that the black paper points out. So if you want to read these arguments, I'll attach the link to the black paper in the study materials in the description. So the ultimate question over here is, who is right and who is wrong? Well, here's where we as citizens, we need to understand that both parties have done good things and both parties have done bad things. But if you look at the mainstream media in India, while one section of the media only applauds the government, the other section only says bad things about the government. And the result of this bipolar reporting is a bipolar population. So while some people might call Modi the greatest Prime Minister India has ever had, the other might call him a dictator. And both are stupid statements, because what we need to do is decode the governance of every government and point out both the good things and question the shortfalls of each government so that the citizens can understand both sides of the argument instead of being influenced by one-sided propaganda. This is the reason why we covered the most compelling arguments of both the black paper and the white paper. And I just hope you learned something valuable from this case study. That's all from my side for today, guys. Please do find the black paper attached in the description. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button in order to make YouTube ever happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to check out Grow School's AI workshop from the link in the description, because only the first 1,000 people who register from the link will get the free bonus. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.